The Canadian Army investigated video of a paratrooper drinking a beer on the way down. A Dutch city becomes the first in the world to ban meat advertisements. And the gigantic penis on a statue of Ronaldo is becoming worn out. These are the weird stories for Wednesday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian inside a very hot closet today. Every day. The Canadian Army is investigating after a soldier was caught parachuting while drinking a beer. This seems quite normal for a Canadian soldier to me. I mean, Canadians do everything with a beer in their hand, last I checked. Let's learn a little bit about what happened. How did they catch this soldier drinking beer? I assume it was a selfie or a TikTok. The Canadian Army is investigating after a video was posted on social media showing a soldier parachuting over a place called Petawawa. Petawawa? He was parachuting over Petawawa while drinking a beer. Let's learn something about Petawawa. It is a town located in the eastern portion of southern Ontario. The mayor's name is Bob Sweet. Oh, sweet, dude. Bob Sweet. Sounds like a great mayor. I bet you Bob Sweet always addresses the town with a beer in his hand. You have to. He's a Canadian guy named Bob Sweet. So the video shows a bearded Canadian soldier attached to his parachute. He is slowly descending over a large body of water. And then he holds up a beer. He opens it, starts drinking. Then he says to the camera, "The government," and shakes his head before the video ends. I think this guy has a cryptic message for us that the government wants you to drink while you do everything in Canada. Well, no worries, Canadian government. Your citizens are already doing everything while drinking. Have you noticed? I've been there. I've seen the activity, which makes it extremely weird that they won't allow Americans to enter their country if an American has a DUI. It's like, hello? Have you seen how wasted your own citizens are? You're not going to let an American in with a DUI? You guys are drinking and doing everything. Driving, parachuting. Okay, so this video began circulating on social media sites like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok over the weekend. And then a military website covered this video, saying that, hey, we found a Canadian paratrooper living their best life. Yeah, definitely living their best life. The National Defense spokesman had to make a statement, it seems. This guy's name is unpronounceable. I'll give it a go, though. It's got a French thing going on here. Dan Lebouthie. Lebouthie. I'm just going to call him Dan Booty. Dan Booty said over the weekend that the soldier is from the Quebec-based Royal Regiment, 22nd Regiment specifically, and the video was filmed during a recent parachute training. They obviously investigated, and the soldier they claim is no longer serving, and the military is not making his name public. Here's a quote from this guy, Dan Lebouthie. "The conduct of the soldier is completely inappropriate, unsafe, and not in accordance with Canadian Army safety static line parachute procedures." Really? It's not in accordance with your procedures? Cracking a beer on the way down? Not in accordance with your procedures? I thought it was. No, we don't recommend the soldiers parachute while drinking a beer. We want them to land safely and then do a keg stand. That's how we do it in the Canadian Army. Now, social media comments focused on the soldier's choice of beer, which was Miller Lite. A number of individuals suggested this was being less than adequate because it's Miller Lite. I can see their point. Come on, man, you got to drink a Molson. It's Canada, right? Molson, baby, Molson. Now, Dan Lebouthie pointed out that discipline is always an option in the military. It's important to note that the Code of Service discipline applies to even retired members for breaches that occurred while serving. And that's the end of the story. Now, so it looks like this was an old video that they dug up, and this guy's retired, and they are going to still discipline him. I don't know how you get away with that at this point. I mean, there's sort of like a statute of limitations. There's got to be, right? Like, are you really going to go reach out to a soldier and was like, hey, were you drunk while serving our country? Yeah, that was in 2009. By the way, I'm still drunk. Hey, go Canada. A Dutch city bans meat advertisements. We have a Dutch city. It's going to become the first in the world to ban meat advertisements from public spaces. This is in an effort to reduce consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. The city is called Haarlem, Haarlem. It lies to the west of Amsterdam, has a population of 160,000. It's going to enact this prohibition in 2024, after meat was recently added to a list of products deemed to contribute to the overall climate crisis. So starting in 2024 in Haarlem, advertisements will not be allowed on buses, shelters, and screens in public spaces. This prompted some complaints from the meat sector that the city is going way too far and telling people what's best for them. Recent studies suggest global food production is responsible for about a third of all planet heating emissions, with the use of animals for meat accounting for twice the pollution of producing plant-based foods. Forests that absorb carbon dioxide are felled for the grazing. This is hard to say here. Can you dumb it down for some of us, man? Take two. Beep. Forests that absorb carbon dioxide are felled for the grazing of animals, while fertilizers used for growing their feed are rich in nitrogen, which can contribute to air and water pollution, climate change, and ozone depletion. Livestock also produces large quantities of methane, which is a very powerful greenhouse gas, as you know. We have a quote from someone named Ziggy, who was a counselor. I can't do a Dutch accent, so I'm going to do a Boston accent. We're not about what people are baking and roasting in their own kitchen. If people want to continue eating meat, fine. We can't tell people there's a climate crisis and encourage them to buy products that are part of the cause. Of course, there's a lot of people who find the decision outrageous and patronizing, but there are also a lot of people who think it's fine. It's just fine. It is a signal. If it is picked up nationally, it'd only be very nice. There are many groups who think it's a good idea and want to try it, you know? Now, we have some people in Ziggy's council that are opposing this, critics arguing that it restricts freedom of expression. We have someone named Sander van den Rad. Here's a quote from Sander van den Rad. Yes, it is remarkable that the municipality of Haarlem is holding a large campaign that you can be yourself in Haarlem and love whoever you want. But if you like meat, then we're going to come and tell you that you're completely wrong. How about that? Now, we have research from Greenpeace that is currently suggesting that in order to meet the EU target of zero emissions by 2050, meat consumption must be reduced. Reduced how much? Well, it has to be cut down to 24 kilograms per person per year. That's compared with the current average of 82 kilograms, or in the Netherlands, 76 kilograms, which is the EU's biggest meat exporter. Apparently, Netherlands is the biggest meat exporter. This is a nightmare situation because people want to eat meat, man. Why? Well, meat is delicious. I had some ribs. Did you see my Instagram? I posted the ribs I ate. Labor Day ribs, baby. Oh. Now, I know I'm guilty of adding to the carbon emissions by putting that meat in my belly. But I like meat in my belly. Most people do. And I don't know how you handled this situation. Now, perhaps there is a solution, and that is lab-grown meat. It is a thing. I've covered a story on Weird AF News about lab-grown meat. It is possible. And perhaps that's the future of how we produce our meat. I mean, we are going to have to do something because I can't munch on kale. I just can't do it, man. You like podcasts? You're listening to my podcast. Maybe you thought to yourself, I'd like to make a podcast. Too difficult. No, not with Anchor. Anchor has free creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor distributes your podcast to Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. They have advertising integration, so you can even make a little money off your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your creation. Good luck with your life, man. A large penis on a statue of Ronaldo is becoming worn out. The famous statue of Manchester United star Cristiano Ronaldo in his hometown of Funchal, Portugal, has been left with a rather shiny crotch following years of fondling of that crotch from overexcited fans taking photos with the statue. Following the unveiling of the tribute statue back in 2014, many people questioned the size of the bulge that was afforded to the then Real Madrid forward, and it has only stood out more as the years have gone on. As with many famous statues that are made of bronze, oil is transferred from human hands to give the portion of the model that is touched most a shinier appearance. So we have here the bulge on Cristiano Ronaldo's statue, extremely shiny. People can't stop touching it. The statue is 3.4 meters tall. The bulbous crotch is at perfect height for posing visitors, with thousands of people rubbing the same spot over the years. Now, I'm looking at a photo of the statue, and yeah, the crotch stands out. It really does. I mean, not only is it shinier than the rest of the statue, it's been discolored. It's like they wore off the outer original color. And the genitalia is shiny golden. It's a nice sized bulge, too. He should be very proud of this depiction of his privates. It makes me wonder if he had any input on the creation of it. Like they sent him some proofs. Like, do you like this one? Do you like this one? I like the one where I have the largest bulge. Could you make that one? Could you actually increase the size of the bulge? I really want it to stand out. I mean, it's enormous. It's unbelievable. Oh, I would go crazy if someone erected, pun intended, erected a statue of me this big with a giant bulge like this. I would say that I made it in life. The statue is weighed in at 800 pounds approximately, and it was made with an inscription that says, "Ronaldo is the best player in the world." Now, what I really want to do in this story is praise the city of Funchal, Portugal, for not putting a fence around Ronaldo's crotch, keeping tourists from interacting with the statue or touching it or taking up-close selfies. If this was the United States, they for sure would fence around that. They would say that this is going to cause the degradation of our children, all these photos and videos of people touching a statue's crotch. You know that's true. Like, I live in a country that's so full of contradictions like this. Like, do you remember the Janet Jackson titty flash scandal back in the day? It's like people were so up in arms about the little vision of the titty. Meanwhile, our television is constantly, has been, just pushing out the most violent images. Just every other show is a cop show or a hospital show, blood squirting everywhere, firefighter shows, just people being burned to a cinder. But can't show a titty. No, that's where we draw the line. Are people taking selfies next to a shiny bulge? Can't have that. Gonna put a fence around it. You ought to put a fence around those naked Florida men, man. Yay! Hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining me for an episode of Weird AF News. I appreciate your time. I'll keep it brief. Shout out to everyone who sent me emails and articles. I really love that, and I appreciate that. You can always do so at funnyjones@gmail.com. If you'd like to call the show, it's 646-450-2012. You can follow me on Instagram at funnyjones to keep up with what I'm doing. I'm doing a show tonight, actually, that you can watch no matter where you are because we're live streaming it at 8:30 Pacific time. It's a cannabis comedy show that I host every other Wednesday. You can watch it on a Twitch channel called twitch.tv/cannabiscapital. Capital's with an O-L. I got 4 of my hilarious friends on the show tonight, and I'll just be hosting it and running them through. And they're great. You're going to love it. So if you'd like to see it, it's completely free, by the way, completely free to watch that. If you'd like to help out the show and support, please just tell a friend about Weird AF News and what it can bring to your life. It's a great alternative to the mainstream news, which is pretty debilitating these days. Makes you feel depressed. Weird AF News, though, will try to lift you up. At the least, it'll make you feel pretty good about your own life because you're like, at least I'm not one of these derelicts. You know what I mean? All right. Thank you, guys.